Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back to Fuel Your Legacy, and today we're going to be talking just a lot about a bunch of things. I actually got in touch with Hope from a friend, a mutual friend of ours. She recognized that I have some ties to the homeschooling, maybe personal self-directed learning atmosphere because of my background and my childhood. And she knew that Hope has worked a lot in her industry. One of her companies, and one of the things that we've collaborated on a little bit, is helping creating some type of online space for continuing education or distant learning. She's going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm super excited for where she's going with that. But that's how we originally got connected. And when I learned more about what she does and what she's done in her life, she just is still running on all cylinders, which is, I love seeing people do that. She's been a journalist, a publicist, an author. She's an absolute serial entrepreneur. If you want to see all of the things that she's done, or I'm sure probably not even all of them are in this list, but look at the show notes, and she's accomplished a lot of things in her life. So super excited to have her on here for the history and just understanding the habits and the mindsets and the behaviors that she's put in place over the years to really launch herself into this position in life that she's in right now. So welcome, Hope. Super excited for you to be here. If you want to just give us a little history of the long journey you've taken to get here and why you're so passionate about this distant learning program that you're moving into.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sam. You are fantastic to have me on, and I love what you're doing, and I loved hearing your story and your family story, and I can't wait to tell that story to a growing who are following us. So I think that at my core, I'm a mother. I always have been. And it was my greatest honor to raise my two children, Anna, who's now almost 24, and my son, Dylan, who turned 20 last week. So we are at the end of May 2019 on this podcast. So I've been a journalist since I graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 1986. Very long time ago, but it doesn't feel like that to me. It feels like just yesterday, right? So I think the thing about education and entrepreneurship and life is that it's a road that unfolds as we walk down it. And so I've had the privilege of just having the opportunity to follow my own intuition. And as I've gotten older, I turned 55 on July 8th this summer. I'm just trying to figure out how to be the better version of myself as I go. And it is a daily, hourly process, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So the reason that I love distance learning is that it's like social media, but so much better because you can curate it. So, I mean, I have almost 50,000 social media contacts. What does that mean? My book, PR Rules the Playbook, tried to help entrepreneurs and anyone who wanted to hire a publicist or be a publicist understand what this really means. To me, it's about life, right? So when people say, what's your favorite topic? I say business, because it's everything, right? It's like the past, present, and future all at the same time. So distance learning gives us the opportunity to share our thoughts, our knowledge, our wisdom with unlimited numbers of people. And that's really why I'm excited about it. So last year I joined the U.S. Distance Learning Association, and just last week presented my workshop around my company that I'm fleshing out, incandescentlearning.com. Because what I want to do is I want to work around women, wellness, and kids and merge it all together nationally, internationally, and trying to figure out, like, what is the jigsaw puzzle that would get me to do that. So my big, hairy, audacious dream is to create health and wellness centers around the country, around the world, because I feel like women in transition, myself included, absolutely, we need to come together and create this community of cool around art, music, science, life, right? What is it that we can all do to raise the vibration, to make things better? So I've just thrown out a whole bunch of ideas, but that's really what the jigsaw puzzle that I'm trying to piece together so that we can come together in a way where we're respectful, thoughtful, and full of love.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'm curious for you, what, who is the perfect user of this distant learning? Like maybe describe distant learning. There are people here who've maybe have never heard of distant learning and that topic. So it's kind of explain what that might look like, how somebody would use it, and then who you think would be maybe using it the most.
So distance learning is an opportunity to log onto your computer and take a class, right? So whether it's something that we'll be streaming, yoga classes, meditation, mindfulness, how to breathe, right? How to be safe in your world. Or you're taking a class in the kids spectrum, K to 12, around science, math, social studies. So you just log on, and that's what the beauty of this platform. And there are so many opportunities. You can go onto YouTube and take thousands of yoga classes. But which one will resonate with you? Which teacher should you follow, right? There's too many options and opportunities out there. And it just gets to be this white noise that you shut down and you're like, all right, just give me a glass of wine. And right. So what I'm trying to do as with a master's in educational leadership, having had the privilege to work for the city of Fairfax schools for 10 years, having worked for a futurist think tank, and then having had my own business for the last 10 years, working with entrepreneurs, from financial planners like yourself to the Grateful American Foundation that I worked on with a philanthropist in DC, to my work. Trying to really like narrow it down so it's easier, it's bite-sized. And the idea of having these retreat centers around the country, around the world, is that we can come together. And so I just got back from a 3-week trip. I went to my cousin's wedding in Santa Barbara, moved to San Francisco, Big Sur with my son, and then to Phoenix and this conference in Nashville, then to Atlanta with a dear friend of mine. To me, the life is travel, right? That wakes me up. That makes me feel alive, right? So what is it that makes each of us? Distance learning has the opportunity to show us that from the safety of our homes, from our computers, and for some people, that is as far as they want. For other people, they need to, introvert, extrovert, what's your Myers-Briggs kind of stuff. It's the opportunity to say, all right, how big can I expand? And my thought always, when I had my PR firm, it was really clear. You can push people one tick on the clock past where they're comfortable. And they work with them to get there in their comfort zone. And then they take a deep breath and they can go to the next, right? Some people like me, for better or for worse, I can go around the clock and I can take other people around the clock. But that freaks people out. And what I've learned in my career, in my life, in my love, is that, you have to be really careful and really thoughtful. So at this stage and age, I have become a masterful listener. And that has taken a lot of work, because there was a long time that I needed a lot of output, right? Now I'm into input. I've actually applied to several master's programs and fortunately gotten into them around holistic leadership, Shakti leadership. But what I'm really curious about is positive psychology. What raises us up? What raises the vibration? How do we stop having horrible conversations that have no successful, right? There's so much rage, fury, anger in the world right now. How do we just sort of like calm down and collectively take a breath? And what do we do with that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's such a needed thing. And I love the analogy of just taking people past the one tick and then let them get in that comfort zone and then one step further. That's definitely something I can work on. Often I am kind of a wave tsunami of whatever it is that I'm on that day. And then people are like, whoa, way too much, Sam. Dial that back, And for me, I'm just like, this is awesome, up on cloud 9, but learning to only push people to one tick past and then like slowly allowing them to expand. That's not really how I grow as much. I'm not really like a slow grower. I'm like, dive in and let's figure this out, sink or swim type person. But I can see the value there. And there's another thing I want to point out, because these are over the course of this interview, I will be highlighting things that I see as a habit, a mindset, a behavior that I've seen across the board of these people that I've interviewed. And one of the ones, I don't know if you guys caught it, but it's Hope's ability to have a world-sized dream, right? It's not like a Fairfax school district size dream. Like she's thinking, how can we bring the whole world together in an educational system? How can we bring resource centers, not just across the United States, but across the world, to involve people and bring in a community from people from all walks of life? Think of the diversity. If we could have all these people there who are respectful and kind of each other's opinions and can have safe dialogues across the world, think of how much more we could learn and expose ourselves to. I know for myself, I grew up in Utah, Idaho area, and didn't really get a lot of exposure to the outside world until I went on my LDS mission and went over to Europe. And it's a different world over there. Then I moved back east, even back east where, I mean, so Hope is from Virginia, but I was in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Even there, it's like it's a different country in a lot of respects. If you go down south to Texas or Louisiana or Alabama, these are like entirely different countries, all encompassed in the United States, which is awesome. But the thing that we have to recognize is what's their experience and how can we gain perspective from their experience. And that's what I see. One of the great things about this distant learning opportunity that she's creating for people is to have that more community, bringing the world, making it smaller, helping us gain more exposure and ultimately more compassion and more empathy for those around us on the globe, right? Not just in our city, but on the globe. I just love it. So cool. So I'm curious, so when did you first start having this dream of this type of legacy, leaving behind this world, community and family? When did you first start thinking about building it?
Gosh, that's really an amazing question because it's tied into my love life. So I've been married for 25 years, still am, and my husband, amazing artist, illustrator, father, person. I adore him, my best friend. But I discovered about 10 years into our marriage that maybe we were better friends, husband and wife, but my kids were little, and a thought came to me in 2005. So I'm going to answer your question in sort of a long-winded way, but I think this will resonate with some of your listeners, or I hope so. I thought, well, why divorce? Like, what is a good reason to do this? So in my mind, in 2005, something happened. I won't bore you with the details, but so I thought, what are the 5 reasons? And I started crafting why divorce, 5 reasons in my mind at that point. So I came up with 5 reasons, sort of the scarlet A's, right? The scarlet letters: adultery, addiction, abuse. You're being harmed in some metaphysical, spiritual, physical. Those are deal breakers to me. But then there are 2 more, and I was in this. I felt abandoned, emotionally abandoned, because our emotional systems were different. And then there's that 5th reason, angst, right? You just feel like I have a life to live, and this partner doesn't want to come with me. So those are my 5 reasons. And in those 10 years, I started fleshing them out and looking around and living inside myself, and became a massage therapist, Reiki master, Kundalini yoga teacher, raised my 2 kids up. There was no way I was going to leave my kids when they were little. I knew, like, my 2 children and me and my husband, we would all break, right? So we were up that we needed to hold together. And I adore them. But then my daughter went to college here in Richmond. I'm actually from Philadelphia, so I grew up in I've lived all around the country and traveled the world, but lived in DC for a long time. When my daughter came to Richmond, I had never been here. She wanted to go to Virginia Commonwealth University, which is the #1 public art school, and be a photo and film major, which I was totally supportive of because that. And I came to Richmond. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm home. And we moved her sophomore year into a brownstone. Like, I totally want one of these historic homes. And I had wanted an office for years for incandescent public relations, my firm, but it was unaffordable. But then I saw a place for rent. I took her out to lunch in October of 2014. And there was a place for rent. And I'm like, I love this. And I had met serendipitously a woman who was a realtor here. So I called Jenny Maraghi and said, I think I want to come here. Is there a place to rent? She's like, you don't need to rent a house, buy one, right? So November 1st, 2014, I rented a house on Main Street in Richmond, Virginia, and bought a house in the Fan, this little carriage house I'm sitting in now, built in 1911, which I adore. Artists have lived here for decades. And so I separated from my family and from my husband, and just to see if this was the right thing to do. And for that year, my son was a sophomore in high school in Northern Virginia, in Arlington, and I thought, I'll just go back and forth and see, because I couldn't stand being away from him. I wanted to be. So I did that, and then I found a private school for Dylan to go to, and I said, come look, if you like it, apply. If you get in, we'll see what we're going to do next. So he did. It would turn out to be the perfect school for him. And my husband and I sold our house in Arlington. He bought another house down here. And so for the last 4 years and a half, this is what we've been doing. Because I love them, right? So I say, never cut what you can undo, if possible, right? So trying to be the best version of yourself in all aspects of your life. So about 6 months after the separation, I started dating. I went on J-Date because I'm Jewish. I thought maybe I had married a Catholic boy and I should have married a member of the tribe, right? I decided no, that wasn't actually my gig. And then I went on Hatch. Date 108 was my the only man I wanted to have a relationship with, and I was very protective of myself. I didn't, I don't know if you could share this, but I'm not someone who sleeps around, But I was meeting men, and I was really curious about their story, right? So date 108 turned out to be a rocket scientist. And I fell madly in love with him. Dated him for 2 years, and then last year, March, that relationship ended, and I'm still trying to kind of like make peace with that and unravel that and see what that meant, because I'm like the real deal, and I don't do things lightly, right? So if I commit, I'm kind of, but maybe that's not the right. So we're all trying to figure things out. But so now to answer your question, so his wife homeschooled their children, and I looked at the homeschool community from my point of view, because my contract with the Grateful American Foundation was coming to a close, and I thought, what do I want to do? And I thought, you know what? The homeschool community is kind of the Wild West. There's lots of stuff going on. It's fantastic, but maybe we can merge things that I know, which is public education, which I have tremendous respect for, and I know the better or worse of it, right? My children, I'm a huge public school advocate. I sent my son to private school for 2 years because that was good for him. I would have never done that with my daughter. It wouldn't have been for her. Mm-hmm. The introduction to I homeschool my kids and you can too, which is how you and I came together, doing the research for this other book, in addition to Why Divorce. I'm fascinated by this. So there's religious reasons that people homeschool their kids. There's secular reasons, which is why this family was homeschooling their kids. And then there's kind of free range, like my kids can drink from the dog bowl. It's all cool, it's all go. So I'm kind of fascinated by this, and trying to figure out where we can really be of service. So incandescent learning is a value proposition where we help retired school teachers, whether they're retired at the end of their careers or they just couldn't deal with the administration and they're still really good teachers, and helping them become small business. So they buy into our incandescent teacher network, which is $50 a month or $500 for the year, and we create a business for them. We teach them how to leverage what they're doing. There's also a membership opportunity where people can get beyond our paywall. Tons of stuff is for free, but if people really want to get inside us and around incandescent women, incandescent health and wellness kids, they can buy in. So I got into homeschooling through this opportunity to see a world that I would have never tapped into. The introduction to the book is why I would have never had the courage to do that. I'm not skilled. I wouldn't have done it. I think that, I have my own biases around it, but I'm completely open. Families that have miraculously, like your family, done that. And woman who runs Home Educators of Virginia.org. I mean, she raised 8 kids. Half of them are rocket scientists. Half of them, it's amazing what's going on in this other opportunities, right? So figuring out, it really comes back to this thing, what's right for you? How well do you know yourself? And what decisions are you making consciously? And how are you training your kids? Because these next generations are up for a bunch of challenges created for them. So how do we guide them and love them? And how do we love each other and ourselves through these next few decades? Because things are pretty chaotic from my point of view. I keep getting into these conversations that are really emotional, just as even as an outsider, and just thinking, what makes sense, and how do I be the strongest version of myself? Because I'll tell you honestly, going through a divorce is probably the worst thing I've ever had to do. The introduction is 108 first dates and one perfect lover, and the outro is divorcing my best friend. I mean, it's killer. And so many people have been through this experience. I wouldn't get divorced if I feel like it was best for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we consciously live our lives is really the question. And the distance learning opportunity is a tool. It's like the telephone, right? Log on, but what are you logging on to? That's the question.
Yeah, no, I think that's so incredible. I think that another thing that sticks out to me there that's pretty unanimous across all the successful people I know is they're quick to make decisions. They're slow to change their decisions in a lot of cases, but they always have an open mind. They're never sitting there thinking, no, that won't work because I tried it before. They're always thinking, well, okay, how could it work? How could this work? Just because I would never do this, how could it work, right? Why? If somebody wants it, if there's a market for it, how could we make this work for them? How can we serve? And it's just a different perspective of a service mentality. It's we've talked off in previous conversations about how you have tried to get into some of these communities and they're very defensive about going into it. And I've experienced that from being a homeschool, was raised homeschooled. There's a lot of people who are in the homeschooled genre of class of people, I guess. I don't know what to call them. But they are defensive because they don't know other people's intentions. They think people are almost coming in a wolf in sheep's clothing, trying to find out all the nitty gritty about how bad something is so they can change the laws and make them. And that's unfortunately, whether it's intended or not, that's a very probably a stigmatized version of homeschooled, but there's a lot of people who tend to be in that class where they have their way of life, and because they're not the norm, then a lot of people tend to speak against their way of life, and so then they're left not knowing who to trust. And sure. being able to walk into that completely open-minded, not looking to judge or anything, just saying, hey, literally, just because I'm from the other side of the aisle, just because I'm heavily invested in public school education, heavily like a big advocate of that, does not mean that I can't also be a big advocate of homeschooling. I mean, one of the coolest things I thought, as somebody who was homeschooled, of President Trump's presidency is within the first, I don't know, probably the first 6 months. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So much has happened. And that was like 7 years ago politically. But he held a meeting with members of all different areas of schooling, and homeschool people were represented in there, and having that type of recognition of like, hey, this is a valid option of education, because that's really what we're all after. How do we educate our children in the most effective way that's going to be productive so that they're going to turn out productive members of society? That's what we all want. We all want understanding people. We all want people who can create and are easy to share, but keeping an open mind. And that's what I think I've had multiple conversations with Hope off of this podcast. And I've always got that feeling that she's really there just to serve and to do everything she can to help people. And yes, it's a business as well. So there's always going to be charging. And for me, I think that's the only way to really help people is to charge them, because they need, and it sounds terrible, but like if you don't, it's a little bit from I studied psychology in school. And I think when I'm just giving charity, then I'm basically telling that person, I don't believe that you're worth enough to, like, you don't have enough value. You can't produce enough value to pay me back. Right. And for those of you who are receiving charity, I would say, don't get down on yourself when I say that I'm not trying to put you down and say that. What I'm saying is, that's a natural consequence when you're just taking and not giving. That's a natural law. We don't get to choose whether we like that or not. My advice would be, start thinking, okay, I am getting this charity from the government or from the church or from wherever. How can I give back? Like, what way can I give back? It doesn't matter anyway, just how can I give back? And that's what I love about, I mean, there's so many things I love about this platform that Hope's creating. Another thing is people who are disenchanted or weren't able to cut the public school system from an administrative perspective, or have just retired but still have so much life left in them. This gives them an opportunity to keep serving and keep giving back. And it's all a way of active love and to give back. And I love that about the whole movement.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. You know, in yoga, which is kind of my disconnect with some of the religious leaders in the homeschool, because they don't believe in that. And that's a really big part of my company. So they said to me, we love you, Hope, we love this idea, but the whole yoga piece in your business, which is a huge component of it, doesn't vibe with us. God said in the Bible and the Torah that you can't do yoga, it's too powerful, you're following a different God. So I respect that from their perspective. I find it like sad that we can't work together in a deeper way, because the religious component of the home is really powerful. Like, they figured it out. And so that's what's interesting to me, and just discovering that as a journalist, and having respect. I mean, it's okay, because I really believe in yoga, you come and you pay for a class because it's an energy share, right? So I pay you, you teach me something, and I walk away with that wisdom and knowledge that you've shared with me, right? So if I don't pay you, then I'm, it's not, right?
Yep.
So I think that there's a profundity to that. That's separate from them not wanting to do yoga. They do servant leadership in different ways. So it's this really interesting opportunity in the world right now. I think I am not a fan of Trump's. I find it discouraging. People are his supporters, because I'm wondering what it is that and where we are as a society, as a civilization, when there's so much anger and fury and respect people. But at the same time, I try not to pay too much attention or spend any energy on things that I have no impact on. So if I have no control over anything but, of course, then I choose to disconnect from the. I watch a lot of comedies, romantic comedy, just so that, what is it that makes us happy? How do we stay centered, calm, stormy time? And that is the essence of my company. So Incandescent Women, my mission is to get more women into political office, Republican, Democrat, just get them in there, onto corporate boards, right? There's a crazy fraction of that is female generated. To stop this Me Too movement, like, keep your hands to yourself, for Christ's sake. What does that even mean? How dare you, right? Equal pay for equal work. How is that not possible? How is that happening already? What happened? How are we not vibrant?
Right.
Incandescent Health and Wellness, the mission is mind, body, spirit, and soul, with the idea that we're all heart. So Incandescent Health and Wellness goal is to meet me at your well. Come to us. You are well. We are going to help you be weller. And my real mission is to take your well on wheels and create these sort of wrapped vans full of yoga props and other wellness things, and empower teachers to take this out across the country. I had a fantastic meeting with a gentleman yesterday in Richmond, where I'm based right now, who does laughter yoga. And we're going to see what we can come up with, because he has a similar vision. So how do we make people feel full of life? So prana, laughter, filling your lungs up, right? Breathing. So many people can't breathe. I did a yoga class at the U.S. Distance Learning Association or meeting in Nashville last week. And, it's sort of like I taught them Kundalini yoga, healing yoga, my favorite choice. And it's hard work, and they were happy after, right? So how do we make each other happy? How do we truly be in that love space? And what does that mean?
Right. Yeah, I think that's interesting. A lot. There's so much period in the world today, and the sign of somebody who's really just kind of average and and I would say victimize themselves is somebody who's just sitting around complaining about all the things they can't change. And once you realize, look, I'm in control of what I can change, now the question is, well, do I like the way I'm acting? Do I like what I'm putting out? Or am I just contributing to all the things that I don't like? And if that's the case, then changing that to saying, okay, I can't change all the bad stuff that happened up to this second, all the stuff I don't like up to this second, but what can I put out in the world? And could I create a positive enough movement that eventually it's going to surpass all the negative? And just to draw this into a very financial conversation, because I deal with this all the time, one of the biggest problems that I've seen in the financial realm is people are terrified of debt. And sometimes that's a religious thing, that they're terrified of debt. And it's humorous to a level, and then it just gets sad. But so many people are focused on debt. They're focused on getting out of debt. They're focused on paying off their debt. They're focused on it. And they have these intense emotional responses to the word, even, let alone actually being there, but just to the word. And instead of focusing on becoming so financially independent that they have enough money and extra to pay off everything they want, that then they focus on all the negative. They focus on the debt. They focus on not wanting to pay this person who's stealing from them interest. It's like that, like when you're stuck in that energy, dude, it's really difficult to get out of debt. Whereas if you say, look, I'm on my way to go build, add so much value to this universe that people are going to be exchanging their monetary value in whichever monetary system you're in, they're going to be exchanging that in exchange for what value I'm offering them. I'm going to have so much money that I can pay off my debt. Now, and this is a question I ask people often is, do you really want to be out of debt, or do you want to have so much money that you could pay off your debts at a moment's notice?
Right. So people have so much baggage around money, right? So abundance versus scarcity. It's a yogic principle as well. So, but it's about how you feel about yourself, right? And your view of the world. And I think what you're talking about is really ingrained as children, right? What is love? What is self? How do we love ourselves, right? So my book, Why Divorce, really the message is, how much do you love yourself? Right? 108 first dates and one perfect lover. I delivered this speech to 120 women in January. My friend Christina Bouieri owns Rest and Limousine, and she has Sterling Women as her platform. She invited me to speak about my Why Divorce book, and so many women showed up. She's like, no one comes to the January meeting, but so many people came here to hear Soap speak. And actually, a clip from it is going to be on my whydivorce.us website that I'm launching in a couple of weeks. But really the question is, how much did I love myself? Because this perfect lover story is about, like, I finally found somebody that I was interested in. And I'm like, oh my God, you're the perfect lover. And he said, no, Hope, it's you. You are the perfect lover. And I was like, the sky's opened up. Like, holy moly, that is the truth. The reason I've done all of this is out of love. And I'm finally choosing to love myself, right? And this is true around every aspect of my life. Money, relationships, how I handle my friendships, how I deal with my children, how I deal with everything. When I choose to get into that space of loving myself, then I'm in alignment. I actually had an interview for a new client just a couple minutes before you and I logged on today. And, we were talking about energy. She's like, you sound so busy. Do you have room for another client? I'm like, there's always room for more goodness, Mm-hmm. When you're in that flow, like, this is one of the programs that I'm working toward, Shakti Leadership. I got into the Shakti Fellowship program with scholarship. That's an honor. Trying to be in that, what does it mean to be in your power, your true power? Because when you're in that flow, it's limitless. You always have the answer and the time, right?
Yep, absolutely.
When you're feeling like, you're in austerity, it's a desert, I can't get up, I can't breathe, right? So there's something going on inside you that you need to look at. And it takes a lot of courage to look at the stuff that doesn't feel good, right? And I am a huge, I've experienced this from both sides, right? And I watch other people experience both sides. And I've guided people. In fact, I was on this 3-week trip that I just took myself on, and I tend to do that more and more regularly. Sitting next to me on the airplane, and I was telling her a little bit about my Why Divorce book, and she's like, and my retreat center for women in going through transition, she's like, sign me up. And she was telling me her love story and how her husband let her down, and she's so angry. And I said, that's cool, be angry for as long as you need to be angry. But maybe consider the idea that you're angry at yourself, right? And this is about you. So be mad at him, but at some point, maybe it'll shift where you realize, I love myself enough that that's a waste of, or not. I mean, it's everybody at their own time. And she said, maybe you're the catalyst that you're this stranger I met on an airplane for 2 minutes, who will get me to look at this. I feel like that is my work. So when you ask me about distance learning, like I say, it's like the telephone. It's just a tool, but it's a massively powerful tool when wielded properly, right? So we're going to curate these amazing classes with these amazing teachers and building a community of people around women, wellness, and kids that truly help. The goal is to raise the vibration. We all, when you're in your heart, when you're in your love, like you're talking about, right? Then the rest of it falls away. And it's just, then we laugh, right? Laughter yoga. We start to breathe. And then all the bad stuff just kind of like runs away because there's so much light.
Yep. No, I agree. And it's interesting. I coach and I speak at different times, and I see different coaches who operate and they coach out of darkness. And I think that there's a valid point for that. Like there's a point in somebody's transition or in somebody's healing where they need somebody who can help them through the darkness and help them in. I don't even know if the word through is the right word, but help them in their darkness. Where for me, everybody's been asleep in a dark room and like had the lights flipped on, right? That's so painful. Like you get angry at the person who does it, right? And I absolutely know there's people in my life, and I've talked to them. I've had clients who are this way, where they've come in and they've seen the way I operate. They see the way I think, and they're like, that, like it's angering to them that I even would assume or presume to operate from this state of mind. And they think, oh, you're just brainwashing yourself or whatever. I'm like, you know what, whether I am or not, this thing makes me so happy that I just wish that you could experience this, but it's so much light all at once that they can't handle it. They haven't really dealt with opening their eyes. They haven't really dealt with starting to like feel around in this dark room and find out what they see, and then gradually gain more understanding, right? If you just keep your eyes closed all the time, no matter when you open your eyes, it's still pitch black. But if you keep your eyes open long enough in the dark, your eyes do adjust to the point you're like, okay, I can operate this room pretty well now. And then as you slowly increase the light in there, then you're actually able to get to a point where you feel comfortable in the light. And that's only after you know where things are in the darkness. And that's my perspective.
Well, and that makes sense, I think, given, and you're very wise, especially for your age, but I think something to consider in that is some people feel very comfortable in the dark. And so when I talk about being in this love state, right, meeting people where they are. So if I would have said to this lovely stranger on the, well, you're ridiculous, right? Get over it, right? That wouldn't have served her, and that wouldn't have been right. But in letting her be where she is, she was able to open up enough to say, maybe you're a catalyst to get me to think just a little bit more, right? Because I have nothing invested in her one way or the other. I'm just a stranger with an idea. And so I think, I know my mom, for example, like she's so far down her path that nothing I will say, nothing anyone will say will change where she is. So the idea is, in that case, there's some people that you need to have really boundaries around everything, especially yourself. But I have a boundary around my mom, which may seem to some people, but I can handle her for a very short period of time because it's hard for me, right? So I think we need to just say, you don't need to know who you are and what's safe for you. I've had other friends, very close friends, dear friends who I love, who are like, I know I could look at this hope, but I don't want to. And I have to respect that and love them and to let them go down their path, even though my path might not, no longer be part of theirs. And I think that's the hardest thing, is to people that you truly love, to let them go. I'm having that experience with my daughter right now. She and I were starting Incandescent Health and Wellness together, and she just didn't. She needs to go down her path. So I love you. I love you. We text, but right now Anna needs to do Anna. And as her mom, that's how I'm going to mother. And my son is a different personality. He and I are aligned in a lot more, in a lot of ways right now. So, this is not easy work, but to find the joy in the darkness, right? Or what is dark? What is light?
Right. Defining it even.
Yeah, it's a quest. And I don't presume ever in any moment of my life that I know better than I know what I know. And I'm more than happy to share that and to learn. And that is the platform I'm trying to set up, this courageous communication where we are not judging each other and hurting each other, but loving each other and loving ourselves.
Right. No, I love that. So I'm curious, where can people get more access to you? Where can they support you? How can we, if somebody's listening to this and wants to either join into your crusade or become part of your crusade, use your crusade, what's the best way to get a hold of you? And we can put some of these links, if there are links to places, in the show notes, but where's the best place for them to get a hold of you?
I love that this is the Crusades, the new Crusades. That's fantastic. So hope@hopegibbs.com is my email, and 703-346-6975 is my cell phone. You can text me. Powered-by-hope.com is my curated website. It's my life's work. And then, those are easy access points. Incandescent Learning is the site I'm evolving, and incandescentwomen.com and beincandescent.com are the two magazines we've launched in 2000. And it's, I think this is true, and this is a leadership truth, that the stronger I am, the stronger all of you. And I'm on a daily quest. This 3-week trip was a cathartic experience. I had like a little mini breakdown at my cousin's wedding where I just cried it out because I felt his mom very intensely, who had passed a few years ago, and trying to let it go. So I'm as real as anybody is, and I'm here to say, I don't have any answers, but I'm open to them and sharing and loving and honoring everyone else. So feeling the love, being in the love, having that as an opportunity. So Powered by Hope is my kind of battle cry. Let's all be powered by hope and see what we can create as a community.
Awesome. Okay, so this next section is called Legacy on Rapid Fire. It's where you give about a 1-sentence answer to these 5 questions. I'm just going to ask them, and then 1 sentence. So keep it short, because then we're moving into the end here. But the first question is, what do you feel like is holding you back from reaching the next level in your legacy?
Fear that I can't do it, that I can't be the change I wish to in the world.
Okay. And what do you feel like is the hardest thing you've ever accomplished?
Raising kids.
Raising kids. I'm with you there. I haven't got mine raised yet. And what do you feel like the greatest success has been in your life up to this point?
Finding love in myself.
Awesome. And what do you believe one of the secrets is that's either a habit, mindset, or behavior, like a secret weapon that you have contributes most to your success?
Trying to laugh more and do yoga every day.
Awesome. And what books would you recommend to the Fuel Your Legacy audience?
So many. Because I write book reviews for Costco, and okay, Man's Search for Meaning. Right?
That is such a good one.
Viktor Frankl, brilliant, genius, logotherapy. We all need purpose. We all need to love ourselves, no matter what.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the last thing here, I love this question because even though we talk about it this whole episode, it always comes out different when we focus it on to framing it in the right perspective. So we're going to pretend that you're dead now. And we're now talking, or we're looking on a conversation of your great grandchildren sitting around a table. They're talking about who Hope was, what her life meant, and what legacy she left. What do you want them to be saying about your legacy?
So I want them to say that she taught us how to love ourselves. We loved her so much.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Hope. I super appreciate you making the time. I know it took 2 or 3 times of scheduling to get you in a place where this is going to work, and I'm busy as well, so I'm grateful when it works out. I'm grateful for your time. I look forward to more engagement there with the incandescent learning, and I'm excited for this book to come out. And if we can help in any way, if there's anybody on this podcast listening thinking, hey, I have a story, I was homeschooled, I could contribute to understanding why one would want to homeschool their kids or not, whether you're raised homeschooled or not, then she's looking for people who can add value to that conversation. Please reach out to her. If you feel called to do so, please do so, because it's an awesome thing what she's doing. And the more you can talk one-on-one with her, the more you'll be excited about it, as I am. I'm really about the movement that she's creating. So thank you so much, Hope, and we will we'll chat soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Sam. You are a rock star. Keep it going, baby.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.